Once upon a time, in a small New England town wrapped in the quiet stillness of old brick buildings and lonely street lamps, there lived a man named Gabriel Turner. He was the kind of man people passed by every day without noticing. Soft-spoken, gentle, with tired eyes that seemed older than his 35 years. He worked the evening shift at a local bakery, covered in flour by midnight and surrounded by silence until dawn. To the world, he looked like a simple man with a simple life. But inside him lived a storm no one could see. Gabriel had once dreamed of being a musician. When he was young, the guitar felt like a second heartbeat in his hands. People believed he had a gift. His fingers danced over strings like they were made of memory and magic. He played at cafes, at weddings, even in subway stations just to earn a few dollars. But the world is not kind to dreamers without money, and life slowly pressed him into corners he never chose. By 23, he was married to a woman named Clara, sweet, soft-eyed, a schoolteacher who loved the way he sang. They built a tiny life together in an apartment above a laundromat. Money was tight, but their love made every corner of that apartment warm. When Clara became pregnant, Gabriel felt like the world finally made sense. He worked double shifts, repaired old guitars for cash, did anything he could to prepare for their daughter. They named her Lily. When Lily was born, she was small, so small Gabriel could hold her entire body in one hand. But she had Clara's smile and Gabriel's curious eyes. From the first moment he held her, everything he once believed about life changed. Dreams didn't matter as much. Music didn't matter as much. Only she did. But the world always takes more than it gives. When Lily was 2, Clara was diagnosed with a rare form of heart disease. Doctors said her heart was failing slowly, like a clock winding down, but they didn't know how long she had. Gabriel spent every moment holding her, comforting her, fighting the fear clawing at both of their chests. He quit playing gigs and took every job he could find, warehouse shifts, night security, even construction, anything to pay for Clara's treatments. He watched her fade piece by piece. He watched her smile weaken but never disappear. And one evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, Clara collapsed in the kitchen. Lily was drawing at the table. Gabriel caught Clara before she hit the floor, screaming her name, shaking her, begging, but her heart, tired from years of fighting, simply stopped. She died in his arms. For months afterward, Gabriel became a ghost moving through his own life. He worked, he fed Lily, he paid bills, but inside, he was hollow. Every room reminded him of Clara. Every corner carried her laughter. Every night, Lily asked, "Daddy, where's Mommy?" And Gabriel broke all over again. He hid his grief from Lily. He never cried in front of her. He cried only in the shower, where the sound of running water drowned out the sound of his heartbreak. Life didn't pause for sorrow. Rent went up, medical bills arrived. Lily needed clothes as she grew, school supplies, food. The world demanded more and more from a man already crushed under grief. And then another storm arrived. When Lily turned 5, she began coughing frequently. At first, Gabriel thought it was a cold. Then a fever followed. Then difficulty breathing. He rushed her to the hospital, heart pounding with a terror he knew too well. The doctors ran tests. They asked questions. They spoke in hushed tones outside his room. Gabriel's hands trembled as he waited. Then a doctor came in, shoulders heavy with the weight of bad news. Lily had a severe immune disorder, something that made her body too weak to fight infections. She would need constant monitoring, expensive medication, and regular hospital visits. Gabriel felt the world collapse again. Cruelly, mercilessly, without pity. He whispered, "Please, not her too." But fate does not negotiate. To pay for Lily's treatments, Gabriel sold the guitar Clara had given him on their first anniversary. He sold his wedding ring. He sold the furniture from their living room. He took extra shifts at the bakery until he barely slept. He worked through nights, through pain, through exhaustion so deep that he sometimes fell asleep standing up. But he did it all for Lily. He would have given his own heart if it meant she could breathe. They lived like this for 3 years, running from hospitals, juggling bills, hoping, praying, fighting against a future that kept slipping through his fingers. Then came the night that changed everything.
Lily woke up gasping, clutching her chest, unable to speak. Gabriel scooped her into his arms and flew out the door, barefoot, panicked, shaking. He ran through the rain, screaming for help as he reached the hospital. Doctors rushed her inside. Gabriel paced the hallway, drenched, shaking, whispering, "Don't take her, please." Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like centuries. Then a doctor emerged, pulling down his mask, eyes heavy, defeated. "Mr. Turner, I'm sorry. We did everything we could." The world stopped. Everything inside Gabriel shattered. His knees gave out. He collapsed onto the cold hospital floor, sobbing into his hands, screaming without sound, his heart breaking in a way no human heart should ever break. He had lost Clara. Now he lost Lily, his last reason to live. For weeks, he couldn't speak. He couldn't eat. He couldn't go back to work. He moved through the apartment like it wasn't real anymore. He left Lily's bedroom untouched. Pink walls, stuffed animals, drawings on the refrigerator. He spent nights sitting on her bed whispering bedtime stories to an empty pillow. Bills piled up. Debt collectors called. The landlord threatened eviction. But Gabriel didn't care anymore. One morning, he received a court summons for unpaid fines, parking tickets he didn't remember getting, violations from days he couldn't even recall being alive. He stared at the papers without emotion, but something inside him said he needed to go. Not because he cared about the tickets, but because Lily would have wanted him to face life, not run from it. And so, he went. He walked into the courtroom looking like a man whose soul had burned away. His shoulders slumped, his eyes red and empty. The entire room fell silent when they saw him because some kinds of pain speak without words. Judge Caprio looked at Gabriel, then at the long list of violations and asked gently, "Sir, what happened?" Gabriel lifted his head slowly, as if it hurt to move. His voice cracked as he spoke. Soft, broken, trembling. "My daughter died. She was only 8. And before that, my wife. I tried to save them both. I failed." The entire courtroom froze. He went on, tears slipping down his face. "When you're carrying someone to the hospital, when you're scared they'll stop breathing in your arms, you don't think about where you park. You don't think about fines. You just think, please God, don't let them die." He took a shaky breath. "But they died anyway." Judge Caprio's eyes brimmed with emotion. He cleared his throat, fighting to stay composed. "I'm so sorry for your loss," he said softly. Gabriel nodded, unable to speak. "Mr. Turner, this court was built for justice, not punishment. And what you've been through, no man should ever endure." He slowly closed the file. All violations dismissed. Every single one. Gabriel didn't react at first. He just stared. Then his face crumpled, and he whispered, "Thank you," in a voice so quiet it was almost air. As he left the courtroom, something strange happened. The audience, every single person, stood up. Not out of obligation, but out of respect for a man who had survived pain most people could not imagine. Gabriel paused at the door, overwhelmed, and for the first time in months, he felt something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. A small, fragile spark, but a spark nonetheless. He returned home, opened Lily's bedroom door, and sat beside her tiny bed. "I'm still here. I'll keep living. I'll keep trying because you would want me to." And so, day by day, he began rebuilding his life, not because the world got easier, but because love doesn't end when life does. He volunteered at hospitals, comforting parents who sat in the same waiting rooms he once did. He created a community fund to help families with medical bills named after Lily. He fixed old guitars and gave them away to kids who couldn't afford instruments. He lived not for himself, but for Clara and Lily, keeping their love alive in everything he did. And slowly, softly, gently, light returned to his world. Some nights he still cried. Some nights the grief still swallowed him whole. But he kept going. Because sometimes the strongest people are simply those who continue despite the unbearable. And Gabriel Turner, once invisible, became a quiet hero whose story reminded the world that even when life shatters a heart into 1,000 pieces, it can still beat again.